Good morning, everybody. We're going to call this meeting of Tuesday, May 4th to order. May the 4th be with everybody here, and we're going to acknowledge our High Desert and Joshua Tree video concert sites. We're going to be led by invocation or pledge today by 5th District. Supervisor Bach.
Thank you, Chairman Hagman. Today gives me great honor to introduce Dr. Michael Andrews Owen, Senior Pastor at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. For those of you who don't know, New Hope Missionary Baptist Church is in the heart of the San Bernardino, on the west side of San Bernardino, Medical Center and 17th. So welcome, Pastor, today. He served as a pastor of New Hope for 4 years, so he's been a pastor there for 4 years, originally from Detroit, Michigan, so Motor City. And he has his wife, Lisa Blackshear Owens. Some of his hobbies include golfing, Motown, clearly evident from being from the Motor City, and jazz. He's also a county partner in hosting COVID-19, so he's been big and instrumental in helping to host the COVID-19 vaccination with the County of San Bernardino Health Department. He's a member of ICAC and COPE, and he instituted the non-engineering 90-year-old celebration for Black History Month. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Michael Andrew Owens of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. Welcome.
Thank you, Brother Chairman, board members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share in this moment and in the importance of this day. We ask that you would bow your heads and let us give attention to our Creator, to our Lord. We thank you, Lord God, for the new mercies to have this day. Thanking you, Lord God, that you have called us into service that is meant to bless those who we serve in their need to survive and to prosper, to pursue their dreams, and to have a community, Lord God, in which your Spirit abides. We pray for knowledge. We pray for wisdom. We pray for understanding. We pray for an openness for those who will come and press their issues and their concerns today. And we ask for divine leadership, Lord God, for such a time as this. There's a need for healing in the land. There's a need, Lord God, for persons to be affirmed and for persons who have not to share in the wealth and resource of this great country. And we pray that locally, Lord God, and globally, that your Spirit will abide and rule and reign, that you'll bring about healing from the plague that we are under at this time. And let us again know prosperity. Let us know goodness one toward the other. And we ask that in all things your reign will be with peace and that we will show love one for the other. Let it be according to your word and your will. We ask it in the name of the one who made us all, our Lord. Hallelujah and amen.
Amen.
Let us recite the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Owens. Do we have any memorial adjournments today? We'll start off with Colonel Cook. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Yes, I want to adjourn for Charlie Glasper, 84 years old, of Adelanto. He was the former mayor there, passed away on the 23rd of April of this year. I'd like to note that he served in the United States Air Force from 1955 to 1983 and retired as a Chief Master Sergeant. He served as an usher at the Gate Church of the High Desert, where he worshiped for many years. He always put people above politics, and he will sorely be missed, not only in Adelanto, but everywhere throughout the High Desert. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Supervisor Baca.
Yeah, thank you. I have one in short memory, Chairman. Mr. Gilbert Lee Diaz, 69, of San Bernardino. He was a lifelong resident of San Bernardino. And this one's personal to me because I coached softball at Rialto High School, and his granddaughters played under me. And one of the things about Gilbert, he was a very loving family man. He loved his family. He was caring, but he would show up at all the games. He was always there for his grandchildren and his family. And, you know, he lived there on the west side in the Mount Vernon area in San Bernardino, and he will be dearly missed. And he's a good, dear friend of the family. So hearts go out to the entire Diaz family. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Rutherford. Vice Chair?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to reports from County Council.
No items to report this morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. CEO?
No items to report, Mr. Chair.
And we have no special presentations. Do we have any changes to the agenda today, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Item number 22. Item number 22 is revised to reflect the increase in the contract amount to $368,547.50 for a total contract amount to $665,977.50. And number 46 is revised to remove the second recommendation in its entirety. Those are all the changes I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I'm just going to remind those who public comment is no longer going to be read into the record by the clerk, since the public can't attend the meetings in person. I'm going to ask the CEO to present item number 64.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My pleasure to bring this presentation forward. We go to the next slide. We have a presentation today to talk about vaccination progress, our numbers, and some different advancements there. And then we also have some special guests with us. A special presentation by the County Superintendent of Schools and several delegation from Superintendent of Schools network that are going to be presenting on the interaction between the county and the schools within our county. If we can go to the next slide. Here's a quick overview of the numbers. We continue to make progress. What I wanted to point out on this slide is how far to the yellow tier. Our overall positivity needs to be below 2, and the equity positivity needs to stay below 2.3 for at least 2 weeks. We are making progress towards that. I want to thank not only our staff, but the entire community and our network of trusted communicators and providers of the vaccines for that progress. We have there the number of doses administered, and as you can see, we continue to make wonderful progress in that area.
Hey, Leonard, it may be mute, but what's the next level under yellow? I know we may be switching to all the restrictions gone by June 15th. That's the plan, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, those plans are still being worked on by the state. We have heard some comments that there may be a green level, but we're still waiting to get more information from the state and from state public health about what that looks like.
We're still very much, I know we're all sick of wearing the mask and and just looking for the new rules coming out.
We can go to the next slide. Johnson & Johnson single-shot vaccine, the FDA and CDC determined that we can resume, and the county has done that. I want to thank the team for working with our providers, our hospitals, clinics, and private pharmacies all throughout the county to do that. And then we have an updated Johnson & Johnson fact sheet available in English and in Spanish at sbcovid19.com/vaccine if anyone would like more information on that. One other item I wanted to highlight is that just to keep the board and the community aware, Pfizer is working on the approval with the FDA for their 12 to 16 age limit status. As soon as we get that information, we'll be able to communicate that out to the board and to the public. But we just wanted to track that item.
And this may be a good question for the next presenter on this, but is that going to be your thought, you done at schools with the parents' permission or offsite?
Yeah, there will be permission required. We are, with our public health and superintendent of schools office, looking at different ways we can partner with schools, obviously on a voluntary basis, and there's some great work and conversations that are taking place now. I'll leave it to the superintendents if they would like to elaborate on that, as they've been great partners in our interactions so far. And if we go to the next slide, we'd like to welcome our superintendent of schools, Ted Alejandre. He's here through a video. He's at a commitment that he could not get away from, but he did pre-record a video that we'd like to play now.
Good morning, Chairman Hagman and Honorable Board of Supervisors. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide you with an update on the tremendous efforts and collaboration that have taken place with staff from the Department of Public Health, the CAO's office, and other key departments regarding the reopening of our schools in San Bernardino County. We truly appreciate the support you have provided as we've worked together to provide over 407,000 students in our county with the best educational program possible. In addition to the significant funding you have provided to support technology, protective equipment, and other important needs, your collaboration has also been key in other areas that directly impact our reopening efforts. And today, we have 3 incredible superintendents who would like to provide you with an update on the 3 regions in our county. Presenting first will be our East Valley Superintendent Representative, Ms. Callie Banks, who is the superintendent from the Yucaipa-Calimesa Joint Unified School District. I wish to thank you again for all you do to help transform lives through education. And now I turn it over to Superintendent Banks.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Hagman, and to our Board of Supervisors, and of course, our friends at the county. Well, it's been over a year when we were presented with the challenge of COVID-19, nothing any of us have ever experienced. But we want to share a little bit about what has happened and how the partnership has grown. Back when we started the COVID-19 process and determining what we were going to do, following guidance and all of those things, as Superintendent Alejandro mentioned, the Board of Supervisors, the trustees stepped in and they helped us with some of those very necessary things we needed in our districts to keep not only our students safe, but our employees as well. But it's grown to be much more than that. And my role today is to share that with you. We actually know who one another are now in this very, very large county, the largest county in the United States. Here we are, and we are sitting in a place where the partnerships have grown to such an exponential proportion of working together that this collective impact model that we've used to get to know what each of us do and for the vaccinations for our educators, it will only go on to help the success of our entire county. Anecdotally, I would just say that we started out with wondering who the people were that we were going to be working with in the Department of Health. And some of the conversations were, so who are you? What's your name? And what do you do? And that was both ways. It was just determining the different roles each one of us had. And I say that so lovingly because I said that to Deborah Philpott, who works in the county health department. We were exchanging what our roles were. And there were many people who said we thought that Superintendent Alejandro was the superintendent of all the districts. And then when they met my esteemed colleagues, they said, oh, so there's 3 of you. No, there's 33 of us. And you all know that because you have been supporting education throughout your entire careers, of course, in public service. You'll see on the slide that I represent the East Valley region, and we worked to coordinate our efforts. We continue to work together. We've always had strong representation for each region, but for Bear Valley, Colton, Morongo, Redlands, Rim of the World, Yucaipa, Rialto, Fontana, Colton, Redlands, Yucaipa ROP, San Bernardino City, and the San Bernardino Community College District. That makes up the East Valley region, and we are working together to make sure that we know how each one of us are moving forward. As Superintendent Alejandro said, you talked about the reopening of schools. Your support has been grand for us. We appreciate it. We will continue to work together as we have, and we will be able to move forward quickly as we have leveraged the collective impact model. The communication has been incredible out of this county office. We appreciate it so much. We've worked with Superintendent Alejandro. We've worked with 33 superintendents, which represent all boards of trustees in this area. And on behalf of all of them, we thank you. And I will now turn it over to my colleague. I believe it's Dave Olney is up next. No, it's Matt Holton.
Thank you, Callie. Good morning, Chairman Hagman, Board of Supervisors, and it's just, again, it's a privilege to be here and to just echo what Kelly had to share. You know, it was a surreal experience for all 33 superintendents to be on the phone at the same time last year and to hear the governor say that it's about time we shut schools down. And really the objective for the three of us to be here today is just to thank you. Supervisor Hagman, you reached out to me a couple times and we talked one-on-one. Always, Supervisor Rutherford, you're in our area. And side note, by the way, Supervisor Rutherford, out of about 18,000 students when she was in high school in our district, by the way, was the student representative on the Board of Trustees. So she certainly has a connection to the Chaffee District and has just been a friend of the district for so long. And so again, just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to get to know you, to work with your staff. Andrew has been spectacular. Luther is spectacular. All of the individuals that we are working with the various office have been just incredible to work with because we needed someone and we needed folks to work with, and you stepped up. And in regard to graduations, and that's my piece here. Graduations last year, after we shut schools down, all of a sudden became the most important thing in my world. And so trying to figure out how to provide a graduation at the same time, adhering to all the safety protocols and so on. Again, that was a conversation with Supervisor Hagman and Supervisor Rutherford and trying to help us get to those protocols. It just happens that our calendar falls that we are the first district that really went about graduations and trying to figure it out. And I will tell you without exaggeration, we had high schools from all other counties coming and watching those graduations, those drive-up graduations that you helped us design. So thank you for that. We are looking forward to moving into the next season of graduations, all of us in the county, and most doing it in person in a very strict and safe way. But again, your guidelines and your help has been wonderful. So again, just thanks for your help with that. Superintendent Olney.
Chairman Hagman, Board of Supervisors, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. And again, I don't want to beat a dead virus here, but thank you for all of your support throughout this time. Back in March 2020, when we did not know much about this virus, and in fact, I don't think there was one confirmed case in San Bernardino at the time. I know that I can speak for my colleagues in the high desert. We did not want to close down our schools. And reaching at that time out to Supervisor Lovingood, trying to get our state to understand that this county has unique needs and we are such a large county. And we always felt that the Board of Supervisors was listening to that. I cannot stand up here without, again, thanking the tremendous support from the Department of Public Health. Corwin Porter did a fantastic job, his well-deserved retirement that all of us right now are very jealous of. Heather Cockerell, who was so incredibly responsive, I can say that for my colleagues, we feel like she's no longer just a part of Department of Public Health, but part of our family. We got to know her very, very well. Incredibly responsive, helping us to identify the protocols, the procedures that we needed to put in place to try to offer our students just even little glimpses of normal during this. I think Matt said the word that I've used more in the last year, this surreal year. But we know that our students need to be in school. That's what we have wanted to do, is get back to where our students are in class, where they're needed. We know for many of our students that this is the safe place for them to be during the day. They need that safe environment, the support of our educators, so that they can be socially and academically successful. Now, lastly, the vaccines. All I can tell you is I can't, again, stand up here without thanking Supervisor Cook and his staff, particularly Dakota Higgins, who, by the way, still owes me lunch. But he checked in with me throughout. We wanted to make sure that our high desert region was not left behind. And in fact, a lot of times we were ahead of the curve. We'd also like to thank the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who coordinated with our school police departments to provide supervision at the big clinic that we were able to put out, along with our partnership with St. Mary. And I certainly would ask the Board of Supervisors to recognize our local hospitals who, as Callie was mentioning, that collective impact that we've had in this whole collective impact effort. CEO Randy Castillo, St. Mary's in my region has been amazing, truly a servant leadership heart, and understands that the effort coordinating with us to get the vaccines out to educators was really a support for our entire community. And lastly, just again, thank you to you, your support, our amazing County Superintendent, Ted Alejandre, who champions this collective impact work. This is what makes our county an amazing place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank all three of you and basically your representation of all the school districts in the county. They've been a great partner. Ted Alejandro has been a communication with us on a weekly basis. We were all kind of learning as we went with the different state rules coming in and out, and I know we collaborated on many different things, including technology, and it was a quick change of way schools and education was done for a very long time. And we appreciate that you are very responsive to your students in the best we can. And I think there's a lot of projects for us to continue to collaborate on as we go forward, especially some of the remote regions of our county that don't have the greatest internet. And I know we're still working on that today for the future of having that, the backbone of infrastructure going forward. But that partnership that we developed over this last year, I think will continue on. And I really appreciate all your leadership and from your superintendent down to your districts, to your partnership with your fellow teachers and with the students too. So we're definitely 100% behind you. Any way we could collaborate and support each other, and with the unveiling of potential vaccinations for our older children coming up in the future, I know we'll continue that partnership going forward, and thank you again for that.
Thank you, Chairman Hagman. We want to just, again, thank you. I want to thank Mr. Hernandez for allowing us time to make those 11 o'clock at night calls that we made. Also to Andrew and our hospital people. We had a lot of late night calls, and that's what it took to get the effort moving forward, but there wasn't anybody who gave up, and there wasn't anybody who wasn't willing to do the work. With that, we do thank you on behalf of our county superintendent, as well as our regions that we represent, for giving us time today, and we are able to answer questions if you would like.
Thank you so much. And I think Leonard doesn't sleep because we start our conversations like at 6 or 5:30. So I don't think he ever gets any sleep. Board members, would you like to make any comments? Supervisor Baca?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Appreciate the partnership with the San Bernardino County Schools and all the superintendents. Thank you all for being here and having the partnership. Looking forward to students potentially getting vaccinated. I think that's a great thing because we have to continue to vaccinate. And someone who participated as a teacher in distance learning for 9 months, I know some of the challenges personally, some of the social and emotional challenges, the dropout rates of kids, low enrollment of junior colleges. It really even affected some of our trade schools, which I got a chance to visit recently, and their enrollment is way down. It's just there's not that connection because kids not being in school. So, that's a great thing, but some of the things I think we ought to consider working on and we need to continue to partner with from the county side, and I've had these discussions with Leonard, is the mental health side of it. So, potentially suicide rates going up for many of our school districts. Some of them have returned, but there are some that haven't returned. I know that Dr. Margaret Hill's here from the San Bernardino City Unified School District, and they go back July 1st, but one of the challenges I had speaking with one of the school districts is just the responsiveness of our behavioral health. So we got to make sure we respond. Some of the things we could look at potentially is a suicide hotline, because mental health is the new thing. Before it was childhood obesity, now it's just mental health. So hopefully we can continue to partner out, and if the districts reach out to us or have concerns, continue that partnership. But thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Rutherford.
To that end, I know I have been contacted by one district very concerned about child welfare when they get back in, and the interest in collaborating with our Children and Family Services Department. And so as you and your colleagues have concerns around that, please contact us or contact CFS. I know our director there is very interested in working with you and perhaps embedding some personnel or working on some new collaborations, because we all know we're going to find stuff as kids get back to school and they're going to need our help and support.
Colonel?
Thank you. I want to thank the presenters today. It's something very, very important to get through this, but you're right. I mean, it's been a long time. We've had a lot of students out, and the education of our youth, our future, we cannot forget about the lingering effects. I talked to my daughter. She's a teacher in Connecticut. She taught special ed and this and that. I don't want to exaggerate and say the irreparable damage, because I think we can go back. But a lot of these students are going to be behind the power curve. We cannot forget that it's not over yet because of all the missed time, the socialization, and we can go on and on and on. So, and I'm certainly not an expert on this, although I did teach afterwards. And by the way, I probably spent more time in the principal's office than anybody in this room, or I think I set a record. But we won't go into that. But it's something that I was somebody that after the Marine Corps, I went back to college, the oldest student in the world. Tried to get smart, but got a few other degrees. And as I said, teaching is a challenge. But what's been going on here, we cannot forget the impact of the kids and the socialization and all those things that go with it. So the challenges, we're not done yet. I think we just, as a board, we got to always remember that. So I want to thank the presenters for everything today and kind of reminding us, hey, don't forget us and how important this is. This is our one of our most precious commodities. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Vice Chair?
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of your partnerships working with us. I know that we have yet to see, as Supervisor Baca said, some of the secondary effects that will linger for months, if not years. And however we can partner with you moving forward for both your faculty and your students, we are committed to that. So thank you again today.
Thank you. We do have a couple of requests to speak on this item. First is Nancy Richardson, and then Christy Burchett.
Good morning. I want to make sure that you all got a copy of the latest CDC comorbidities report and the cease and desist, the COVID vaccine mandates from New Mexico that I think we should be following. Addressing the current CDC chart showing number of deaths from COVID as of April 25th, 2021, now there's only 5% of the total deaths are from COVID only. You have to dig for this. It's not real apparent, but it's there in the CDC report. So if there's 555,000 deaths in the US and 5% have died from COVID only, that's only about 28,000 people that have actually died from COVID only. The rest, the CDC reports, had an average of 4 additional conditions, including flu, pneumonia, heart, whatever. The worst case scenario is if you take the 555,000 deaths and divide it by the total population. I have a chart that got kind of worked on the way over here. I don't know if you can see it, but the worst case scenario is 0.17% deaths. That's not even 0.25%, and that's the worst case. If you look at 28,000 deaths COVID only, that's 0.008%. And as a math teacher, I'm telling you that's statistically zero in terms of population. Why are you pushing vaccines for such a small percent of deaths? There must be a more sinister plan afoot. The top 3 vaccines are approved for emergency use authorization. That means Big Pharma is off the hook for liability, and it falls squarely on the employers. Employers do not understand that bribing their employees to get the jab will ultimately have liability fall in their court if an employee gets sick and or dies from the death jab of toxins. A New Mexico attorney, and I've given you the copy of this, New Mexico Stands Up has submitted a cease and desist order for all COVID-19 vaccine mandates. FDA 21 U.S. Code 360 BBB-3 states that any medications using emergency authorization must be voluntary and after fully informed consent. You are not getting fully informed consent on mainstream media because of the censorship. She asked for full freedom of choice without threat of consequences. Already we are witnessing separation of vaccines versus non-vaccines at ball games and non-vax not allowed to attend concerts. We will not accept vaccine passports.
That's time.
This is the Third Reich all over
Thank you
again.
for your comments. Christy Burchett, and then Philip Figgis.
Good morning. I'm here today on behalf of Educate Advocate. We serve families who have children with disabilities and special needs. We have been working, assisting families who are having resistance from schools to attend in person if they cannot wear face coverings. As a reminder to school districts, there are exemptions in the guidance. These are outlined with both CDPH, California Department of Public Health, and CDE, California Department of Education, and are on our website, educateadvocateca.com. Additionally, it is our understanding some schools and school districts have been approached by our local public health about having vaccine clinics on school sites for a COVID vaccine. There is an overabundance of vaccines for COVID. You can get them at any Costco, Walgreens, CVS, anywhere. No lines. Let's keep medicine in medicine and schools for education. Students and families, now ages 12 and up as of next week, should not fear coercion to get vaccinated with an emergency use authorization vaccine in order to have access to their in-person education. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip Figgis, and then Norma Godinez.
Well, I just wanted to do some reminders today. First one was 15 days to flatten the curve. We all remember that one. Hasn't been anything different since then. And I want to have a reminder about AB 5 just before all of this started up and the damage that it did to multitudes of independent contractors and small businesses, owners, to which the government has not yet had any correction of it. Not at all. And here's another reminder. We project that roughly 56% of our population, 25.5 million people, will be infected with the virus over an 8-week period. That was March 18th, 2020, Governor of California. Again, I would like to remind people that our governor for the state of California, on February 19th, when he did his State of the State address, never even mentioned the Wuhan flu. Even with the rest of the United States starting to begin to brace for this pandemic that was set in place. I'd like to back up Nancy Richardson, who was up here a few minutes ago, and she was giving a case for the death rates in the United States. Well, the death rates were published and put out a few weeks ago by one of my friends, and they started blocking it on the internet. And what it shows is that the death rate is approximately the same as it had been for years and years and years. in the past. 2020 was a 0.9% death rate. 2019 was a 0.9% death rate. It just goes back like that. So really, this virus that you have floating around is the same kind of thing that we've had in the past. But it seems like a lot of people don't want to deal with it normally, and they made it unnormal. And they used it for their own purposes, to gain money, to gain power, and to completely take over the business of living in this country, which is very, very different than the rest of the world. I would like to ask why, after all of these months of us presenting all this kind of information, we hear your data, we hear your statistics, but you haven't answered the question of why haven't you stopped this governor? Thank you.
Thank you. Norma Godinez?
Hello, my name is Norma Godinez. On July 16, 2020, Dr. Fauci stated any PCR test run above a 35-cycle threshold would be a false positive. January 11, 2021, I received an email from David Wirt, Public Information Officer of San Bernardino County, stating all PCR testing done in San Bernardino County were run at a 38-cycle threshold or above. This is the reason why there are so many false positives in San Bernardino County. The cycle thresholds are too high to have a reliable reading. On April 29, 2021, the CDC set new standards for the PCR cycle threshold. Anyone that has been vaccinated and reinfected, aka breakthrough cases, their PCR test should be run at 28 cycles or less. And the CDC will investigate only vaccine breakthrough infections that result in hospitalization or death. Why would the CDC all of a sudden alter the cycle threshold on these breakthrough cases? Why not investigate all breakthrough cases? Before the vaccines, the incentive was to maximize the number of cases, to maximize the level of hysteria. With the vaccines, the incentive is to minimize the number of cases to convince the public that the vaccines actually work. Dr. Harvey Reyes, epidemiologist at Yale University, was interviewed by Stephen Bannon on April 21st, 2021. Dr. Reyes stated more than half of the new COVID cases were from vaccinated people. He states he believes people have been sold on the vaccine having 90% efficacy for the individual. Dr. Reyes says that is not true. It's more like 50 to 60. He also states the best place to look at is Israel. More than half of the population has been vaccinated. Once again, these vaccines are under emergency use authorization. They are not a cure, and we can still get the virus just like the flu. San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, Chief Executive Officer Leonard Hernandez, and Interim Public Health Officer Andrew Goldfrog. Stand Up San Bernardino County would like to know when the PCR cycle thresholds will be changed. Will it only change for people that are admitted to the hospital? Will the PCR cycle thresholds remain above 38 for everyone else, or just the unvaccinated? We would like these questions addressed at the next county meeting. I will email my sources. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That's all the requests to speak I have this time on this item. Thank you for your presentation, Leonard, on this. We're going to move on to consent items, items 2 through 63. Is anyone like to pull anything off at this time? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion for it.
So move.
A motion by Supervisor Baca, second by Colonel. We have a couple of requests to speak. The first is Nancy Richardson.
Okay, I am speaking today on items 7 through 16 on the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. I honestly am not sure why I even bother addressing the consent calendar, as I have not seen any of you change your mind over anything in the last 8 months I've been attending board meetings. There is something very fishy about the distribution of funds to Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. Again, millions here, millions there, and heaven knows that I have addressed this on multiple occasions. What is going on? Why is Arrowhead Regional the only hospital out of 38 in the county to be funded directly from this board? A person who uses discernment might think there is money laundering going on. Then we find out that our new interim health director, Andrew Goldfrack, is the former medical director at Arrowhead. This is smelling of quid pro quo. The unholy alliance just begs for back and forth favors between the board and the hospital. I don't believe in coincidences. Now, this ties in, just give me a second. Speaking of unholy alliances, somebody must be funding Chad May's efforts to undermine the will of the people by overturning Measure K, which was overwhelmingly passed by your constituents. All of a sudden, it is not the board who is suing to overturn K. Now Chad May's State Assembly 42nd District is carrying the torch. Who is funding his efforts? What iron does he have in this fire?
This is on consent calendar, so this is address something that's on the consent calendar.
This is the Arrowhead Regional.
That has nothing to do with Chad's Maid's bill.
Well,
you could address
I said
that
it
there
would
in public
tie
comments
in.
if you like.
I will. Okay. Have you all forgotten whom you work for and who pays your salaries? Have you not followed the news that Vail, Arizona parents booted their school board, formed their own, and declared mask mandates over? The COVID cash cow has gone on long enough, and I challenge our DA to investigate the money received from the state and feds, the money spent and allocated to Arrowhead Regional, and report back to we the people as a public press statement as soon as possible. This is requested as public record, and I expect an answer at the next meeting. And there is a tie-in to the Chad Mays thing, and I resent the fact that I'm not being allowed to mention that because the money is going somewhere. And there is a tie between the Board of Supervisors, apparently, and I call shenanigans on the whole board. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Alice Valara, and then Garth Pleasant.
Good morning. Is this my public comment time or the
Consent items.
consent? Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning. Regarding item number 37, county staff is requesting the board to approve amendment number 7 for urban initiative contract for another 2 years in the amount of over $383,000, bringing the total amount to nearly $1.3 million since 2016. 3 items I would like to report or state in the staff report for board's approval. 1, since 2009, the contractor has provided technical assistance regarding HUD's competitive grants. 2, July 2016, the board approved a non-competitive contract. 3, as a result of the contractor assistance since 2009 to present, HUD COC funding to homeless services providers within the county has increased from $847,516 in 2018 to over 11.6 in 2020. 5 of many items not in the staff's report. 1, contractor and county departments contribute to falsified grant approved applications. 2, the contractor received his non-competitive contract 5 years ago based on the false claims the contractor successfully implemented the CES system within the 211 system. 3, the contractor was not able to fulfill his contract in 2014 to develop the CES system in the amount of $55,000. Since then, the board has approved an additional 3 times the amount for a successful CES system. As of today, we still do not have a successful system that is a barrier for the homeless to end homelessness. 4, 2 years ago, the contractor recalibration of the 10-year plan to end homelessness failed. 5, according to the contractor's point-in-time count report from 2016 to 2020 report, there was a 65.6% increase of homelessness. However, those numbers are actually higher since the numbers were counted. Within that time frame, the county received over $100 million relating to homelessness. Since 2016, I've reported with documentation to the Board of Supervisors and the Interagency Council of Homelessness some of the problems relating to the CES system, 201, and corruption relating to services that is to help with the goal of ending homelessness. Because the board failed to take actions to correct the problems, millions of taxpayers' hard-earned dollars were wasted and homelessness has increased. By approving Urban Initiative amendment to his contract today will only contribute to the waste and the barriers of the goal of ending homelessness. I have no problems meeting with the county CEO or the county's auditor controller regarding my statement.
That's
Thank
time.
you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Garf Pezan.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors of San Bernardino County. I'm just visiting my hometown today. I have moved to Los Angeles, but I still have my heart here. What is the subject, public comment or one of the agenda?
This is on the consent agenda.
And which one?
For the whole consent agenda, what items would you like to address?
20.2 and 53.
Okay.
All right, on 20.2, behavioral health. They should spend some of that $3 million on rebuilding the Penal Code 1368, 1369, and 1370 provisions. These clients will still reoffend and will be influenced to take plea bargains in which causes so-called recidivism. Item 53, risk management. It is unfair that key employees do not show up at work at crucial times for the public that go and make their claims and complaints. One member of the public got arrested by officers that couldn't even speak clear English, and it was a terrible experience. When the Board of Supervisors will be sued, we will spare them their jobs, but we will bring results.
Thank you for the comments. It's all the requested to speak on the consent agenda. We have a motion by Supervisor Baca, a second by Colonel Cook. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Cook?
Cook, aye.
Supervisor Rutherford?
Rutherford, aye.
Supervisor Rao?
Rao, yes.
Supervisor Baca?
Buckeye.
Supervisor Hagman?
Hagman, aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Consent agenda passes. Move on to public comment now. First that we have is Raul Rodriguez, and then Terrell. I can't read this. Forrest. This is public comment. Yes, sir.
Good morning. I would like to just point out that my group that I work with, American First Latinos, support law enforcement 100%. And we also support the fact that 275 sheriffs across the USA who signed a letter for Biden opposing his dangerous open border policies. It's important that we, the people, support law enforcement 100% because they're there to support and defend and protect American citizens. So therefore, I am asking each and every one of you who is an American citizen, who loves this country as much as I do, that it's time that we take a stand. And that stand is to support law enforcement, whether they're sheriffs, LAPD, or regular police, marshals, whatever, ICE, whatever county or state they serve, it's important that we support them. But most importantly, I think it's important that we send a letter and call the White House and ask and tell the elected official who has no idea what he's doing, and I'm talking about the president, that we need to put him on notice that if he needs to support the people of America and not those who are crossing the border illegally, because all the Democrats want is their vote. Basically, that's the bottom line. They want to control our country, the ballot box. They want to stay in power because that's what they do. They lie, they steal votes, and it's important that we, the people, stand up now. Thank you. And God bless America.
Thank you for your comments. I apologize if I mispronounced this, but Terrell Forrester, and then Jane Hunt Rubel.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, on February 9th, Mr. Simpson and myself presented information to the Board of Supervisors on behalf of the residents of Sunchase Homes in Mentone regarding Copart and the demolition and grading that had illegally begun without permits in early January of 2021. We were initially informed by the county personnel that this was, quote, weed abatement, end quote. The property was then red tagged as being unsafe on 2/3/21. However, demolition continued the very next day. As a result of this activity, significant sections of the CUP were violated, including no biologists on grounds to determine if there were endangered species, no asbestos inspector initially on grounds, no noise barriers erected, and no water runoff mitigation measures in place. Subsequently, permits were issued, but major grading was still occurring with no sound barriers up until this was brought to the attention by Mr. Simpson. Then hay bales were placed at only one end of the property, but weren't treated with fire retardants, thus presenting a fire danger. Finally, just a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Simpson again contacted the county regarding weed abatement issues where weeds were growing 2 to 3 feet around the perimeter of the property. In addition to these concerns, it never has been clear who authorized a major revision of the original conditional use permit in 2018, which was then revised in 2020, allowing for the demolition of 2 very large structures on grounds and significantly expanding the storage capacity by about approximately 30%. According to the county's own standards, and I'm quoting, the Director of Land Use Services may approve minor modifications and revisions of the conditions of the approval of the project designed for a conditionally approved development project. However, should the director determine that the modifications may be controversial, the requested modification shall be referred back to the reviewing authority who required the conditions. It doesn't appear that the Board of Supervisors was involved in this major decision for modifications, nor were any of the residents informed of the consequences, which would increase vehicle storage capacity by 300 to 400 cars. And the project, to say the least, is very controversial, and no one in Mentone I've spoken to supports it. Then, under the county's community industrial zoning, it states that uses are for light industrial services and shall have limited outside storage. The Copart facility is in no way limited outside storage. The site will have one small office, and then the rest of the facility will be used to store thousands of operable and severely damaged vehicles. Frankly, the decision to support an auction company that is located near 3 major residential neighborhoods and a major high school is morally
That's
and
time.
ethically wrong.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Jane Hunt-Rubel. And Bill Thomas.
Good morning, board members. Good to see you again. I'd like to make a comment about from the meeting of April 4th concerning the, what do they call it? The microeconomic MEK, I got to abbreviate. The micro enterprise home kitchen operations in San Bernardino County. Sunday, I read the Sunday Sun, and there was an editorial in there from Janice Rutherford, and concerning, I read it, and I was a little concerned because I was at the meeting on the 4th, and I came before the board that day unknowing that this was going to be on the agenda for the 4th, because my neighbors up the street have been conducting outdoor restaurants right beside the road and causing traffic problems and noise. And so I was surprised when I came across that day that this was on the agenda. And I voiced my opinion because I'm totally against it. I have nothing against the other problem was, I guess a couple of years ago, they had the state mandated that for the, they called the sidewalk vendor law. And I complained about that because I said, well, we're not unincorporated and we don't have sidewalks, and I didn't want that to happen in our neighborhood. But even 2 years ago, after this other AB 626 came up, I was shocked to find people already along Macy Street in the city, I mean, not in the city, but in the county area, were having home restaurants in their front yard. And then, so I'm totally against this, even though you said the biggest stumbling block is the fact that once a county adopts the law, cities within the county cannot prevent MEHKOs from operating. And they retain the right to enforce code issues such as parking, traffic, and noise that a home kitchen may create. But I was wondering, it says the cities, so I'm wondering, I read about something about opting out or opting in to this, but does that include the unincorporated areas? I just want to make it clear, I want it more clarified, because I know you guys decided at that meeting that you were going to have a 3-month period, I guess, for a pilot program. And I would like to speak to somebody in the county, maybe our, Supervisor Baca, about how it's going to affect our community. And don't we have a say in it?
That's time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Bill Thomas, then Cynthia Lopez.
Good morning, Chairman Higman, Board of Supervisors. My name is Bill Thomas. I am the past president of the Victor Valley NAACP, current political action chair. And I came here today to just talk about something that was a major concern to us, and I think it's probably been addressed, one of the items anyway. But after the elections in 2020 and the newly elected officials were seated and their staffs were appointed, it came to our attention that there were no African Americans on the staff. And we thought that that was either an oversight or a slight. But we did call Colonel Cook's office and arranged a meeting. And the meeting, I think, was very productive. But we wanted to address the diversity, more especially blacks on his staff, and the lack of inclusivity. And the big problem with that was that during the prior year, during 2020, it was a tumultuous year. We had COVID, we had civil unrest, we had a young man found hanged, all things that were triggers that could have caused a lot of problems. But through working with Supervisor Lovingood's office, and of course his, I think, assistant director up there, Regina Witherspoon Bell, she gathered all of the community leaders, education, community, law enforcement, but she got everybody together for Supervisor Lovingood, and we sat down and discussed issues. We were informed of things that were going on, and we were able to go back to our constituent groups and explain what we knew. And quite frankly, when the young man was found hanged up there, many in our community did not believe it. But those of us that were in those meetings were convinced. We staked our reputations on the line that what we were being told was true. And believe me, I believe that did create a little trust. Now, we sent letters out to not only Colonel Cook, but to the other elected officials as well. And what we basically want is a meeting, because that's not the only issue that we want to talk about. But please, sometimes these conversations are hard, sometimes they're not so hard, but we need to face them. I thank you for the time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call me.
Thank you for your comments. Cynthia Lopez, then Margaret Hill.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia. I'm a graduate student and a registered nurse as well. Part of my graduate program, I conducted a population assessment on individuals with mental illness who are also homeless. And I found that there are a lot of barriers for them to access any housing resources. I know many of the local facilities work with the Department of Behavioral Health. And looking further into the resources that they offer, on surface level, they appear to be beneficial. However, when I started calling these programs that they offer, they seem to be not as easy to access as they seem. Many clients have to be linked to a DBH clinic for them to access their resources, and this has to be conducted after they are discharged from facilities. I was trying to bridge that gap and have a program where this evaluation for eligibility could be done prior to them being discharged from acute care facilities, but I could not find anybody to talk to over at DBH. I also, through internet searches, found that many homeless shelters are no longer operating, and the ones that are require a pre-assessment, a screening. They have to call and make an appointment. No walk-in services are available, and many of them require these homeless individuals to have a state ID and social security card with them. They also provide assessments that can last up to an hour or two long, which is a long time for anybody with mental illness or anybody at all. So over the past 4 months, I have not been able to find any housing or shelter resources where homeless clients with mental illness can be placed at discharge. I'm here today to bring attention to the barriers in accessing the limited resources which are currently available for this population. While it appears that there are many shelter opportunities, I've learned there has been little to no success in placing homeless clients with mental illness at discharge. San Bernardino County has over 3,100 homeless individuals, a 19.9% increase from 2019. Of those who are chronically homeless, approximately 40% have a mental illness diagnosis. With so many homeless individuals in San Bernardino County, it is important to investigate how successful and beneficial the current programs are and to explore how to improve them if needed. I've struggled to find any statistical data on the success of any of the programs available. Moving forward, I ask the board to take this matter seriously and give it the attention it deserves. The public deserves to know how the money funding these programs is being spent and whether these programs are successful in serving their purpose. I also recommend that eligibility criteria for these programs be reevaluated to determine if they are feasible for this population. I ask programs in development and any future programs to keep in mind the population they are trying to serve when developing their eligibility criteria. It is important they construct realistic criteria so that this population can benefit from the resources and hopefully improve their housing and health conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Margaret Hill. Then Nancy Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the other members of the Board of Supervisors. First time I was here was when Jerry Eves was in office. I was invited to do the prayer. Even though I'm not a minister, I enjoyed my time here. This is my second visit here, but I plan to come back one more time. And I plan to come back to say to the five of you, thank you for honoring the resolution you made stating racism is a public health issue. That is so true. And as an elected official and a member of the San Bernardino City Unified School District Board, we also adopted the same resolution. We adopted one day, and I think before the week was over, we started working on it. And so I'm hoping you, as supervisors, will take the role we took. It starts at the top. I have had a good working relationship with Supervisors Rutherford and Baca, and hope to have a good working relationship with the other three. Two of you I haven't heard from yet, but I'm sure it was an oversight. And since your staff is listening, I'm sure they'll respond to my email that I sent you in January. But other than that, I just want to say to you, we're not here for a fight. We're here for a win. We can't win it alone. We need you. You need us because you need to hear from us and you need to hear our concerns. We are dedicated taxpayers, don't like paying taxes any more than anybody else, but you get them anyways. And we enjoy living in this county, and we do not intend to leave. I have joined with the High Desert because we figured if we start in the High Desert, hopefully everything else will fall in place. With your redistricting, I was glad to see Dr. Shannon on the list. Wonderful, brilliant, great man, but didn't understand why he was an alternate, because he has dedicated so much to this county. And also, supervisors, I know you have a task force, and I'm hoping in the next month you can update us on what is happening there. But my purpose and my sole purpose is to make sure at the top, if you support, and I believe you do because it was unanimous that you did support the resolution. Let us help you. It's not hard. We have some answers, and we know you have some answers. And we may not agree on everything, but let's come together. In other words, invite us to the table. That's what we want to do. Be at the table with you to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Nancy Richardson, then Barbara Rittering.
In Pfizer's own report, the jab is not a deactivated virus, as is most vaccines, but it is gene therapy, not a vaccine. Pfizer states that whatever is in the vaccines is transmitted to those who have not received it. Shedding is poison to all around the vaccinated people through touch and air. This is from dailyheadlines.net. We non-vaccinated should be more afraid of the poison carriers than they are of us. Contrary to nightly news, only 23% of American adults have been fully vaccinated. Another 43% have only received one of two jabs, and many, unclear the percentage, are not planning on the second deadly jab. The news reports an increase in cases in 5 states to push for additional jabs. That is because they are still using faulty PCR threshold testing and have not adjusted to WHO standards. Should be no more than 28 cycles. So you get your jab, you still must wear masks, you will need boosters, and you still have to social distance. What is the difference? There is none. Just stay the hell away from me. Don't impose your phobias onto me and my family. My question is always, do you trust this administration has your best interest at heart? If you can honestly say no, why would you trust them with your life? Speaking of life, because the vax is experimental, some life insurance companies have put a freeze or have lowered the maximum age to 70 for payout. You better check that out according to ARP. Everything this puppet government tells us is the opposite of what we should do for good health. Stay inside, but sun is a must. Mask up, even though masks have you breathing in and out poisonous toxins. Don't see your family and friends, even though suicides and mental health cases are off the charts. Get the vax, even though it is still experimental, all designed to kill you. I was chatting online the other day with someone who had a mammogram appointment. The technician asked her if she had the vax. She said it wasn't any of their business. And the tech said, well, we have to wait 8 weeks after the vax. It shows on the mammogram. What the hell is in this vaccination? Let people decide for themselves and their families whether to get the jabs. The chance of dying is minuscule, and the variants that they are now using to scare you are not deadly. They are weaker. That is what viruses do. Do not have vaccine passports. Do not require mandatory vaccines. You will not see the likes of those 77% of us that haven't gotten the jab.
Thank you for your comments, Barbara Rittering. Johnny Cowell.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Rittering. I live in Highland, California. We, the people of New California, do not believe in the illegal mandate for wearing masks from Governor Newsome and consequently from you also. It is not an aid to keeping me healthy, but a detriment to my health. These illegal rules and scare tactics of wearing masks are causing impairment to our lungs by breathing in and out used air. We should be breathing in oxygen and the elements of fresh air. Okay, perhaps a little smog, but that is better than no fresh oxygen. I personally do not think that the wearing of masks in hospitals and clinics should be a requirement at all times. If it makes you comfortable with a sense of false security, that is for you to decide. If the doctor, nurse is ill or the patient is ill, fine. But if I have a pain in my back that needs x-rayed, why does the tech and I need to wear a mask? I am not obligated to disclose my health condition to you under the Americans with Disabilities Act. You are violating the Patriot Act 802 by infringing on my rights and intimidation and coercion, which has felony and civil penalties. Only a licensed doctor has the authority to prescribe a mask. Therefore, you are practicing medicine without a license, which is a felony offense. These mandates for wearing of masks, social distancing, and lockdowns of our homes and senior home facilities have caused irreparable damage to our families that will never be recovered. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Johnny Caldwell. Then Wade Rittering.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Joni Cowgill. I live in Loma Linda,
and I found out some interesting news after the last election. I heard about New California State. I don't know how many of you all have, but it's a very exciting development. We are actually the 15th of January, 2018, we declared independence from the state of California. 56 counties now have committees in them. We have legislature, we have senators. We're having our 8th Constitutional Convention the end of this month. The exciting part of it is you've heard a lot about freedom and infringement today. That's what we're bringing back with New California. We're bringing back the power to the people. Since we are the ones who have to live with the mandates that come from bodies such as yours, we feel that we should have the right to have input, not just be heard 3 minutes at a time, but actually have input. This should be a way of life in America. That's why the world tries to get into our borders, because they want to come to America where they do have freedom. So if you're interested in what is happening in newcaliforniastate.com, please go online, check us out. You will find that there are some very exciting things happening. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Wade Rittering, the Garf Bazant.
Hello, I'm Wade Rittering, a resident of San Bernardino City. I was born free under natural law, God's law. The Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. In our founding documents, it is explained that as free men and women, we all have certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The U.S. Constitution guarantees these rights under natural law. You, as elected officials, have taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Unfortunately, and for many reasons, you have failed in your oath of office. California has not had a working government for over a year. We have allowed a pusillanimous, craven dictator to take charge, to change laws, write laws, with no input from an absent legislature. A judge declared his actions unconstitutional, yet he continues. This attack on civil liberties and natural law rights has been seen before. Nazi Germany in the 1930s. Hitler closed non-essential businesses, closed churches, closed schools, had neighbors report on neighbors, friends report on friends, children report on parents. Newsome has done each of these things. This does not have a good end. If we don't push back against this anti-American, unconstitutional attack on our natural law rights, we are all Nazis. I call on you, in full support of your oath of office, to push back, put an end to this tyranny, cancel this emergency declaration in San Bernardino County, end all mask mandates, open all businesses, open the schools. We have a flu virus. Unless you are a man over 80 with an underlying condition, has a greater than 99% survival rate. I am not dissuading those who have lost because I have lost also. But a 99% survival rate for a flu does not an emergency make. Masks do nothing to stop a virus. Look at the side of any mask box. These vaccines are not vaccines. They are emergency-approved experimental gene therapies. Peloton recently had been vilified for a product issue that has seen 1 death and 39 injuries. These so-called vaccines have had thousands of deaths and tens of thousands of injuries. Yet it is still being pushed as absolutely necessary to combat a flu virus with a 99% survival rate. You have the power in your oath of office to not be a part of this tyranny. You have the power to end this fear-mongered emergency, end mask mandates. You have the power to not comply with the dictator in Sacramento. You have the power to resist all attempts to make vaccines mandatory, to make this vax passport illegal. Show us that you know what liberty is. It's fair to ask, have you been recruited? Are you living like a good comrade? Good comrades comply. Good comrades are careful to never criticize the government. Good comrades obey when the government says, put on that mask, take that vaccine. Good comrades don't object when their private property is confiscated or their private businesses is shut down. After all, it's for the common good. This is a time for choosing. Will you comply with this tyranny?
That's time.
If so, what does that make you? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Garth Pezant, and then Alice Varela.
To the Honorable Board of Supervisors, I enjoyed my stay, and I hope I can visit again. This subject is regarding those of the nations who have squatted their businesses on our U.S. communities. The other day, I walked in a 7-Eleven and a mom and pop store that was owned by those of the nations. I looked over the counter, and who did I see? Those of the nations. I asked him an innocent question. I said, "Do you have EBT?" He snaps. He goes off and says, "Do I have EBT? No, I do not have EBT. I took my shots yesterday. Get out of my store." So as I walked out the store, he calls his wife on the phone and says, "Honey, all the neighbors, all the citizens in the neighborhood are infected with EBT. We must grab the children and flee the country." Then his disrespectful self calls me back in the store and says, "You, come over here." So I walk over there and he says, "What is the vaccination for EBT?" And I said, then I snapped and I went off. And I said, "What is the vaccination for EBT? The vaccination for EBT is get a job."
Thank you for your comments. Alice Varela, then Christy Burchett.
Morning again. I have two comments. First, Mr. Joe Baca Jr., Bulldog Jesse, sitting over there, he says, "Congratulations to your new position." And second is to my comment to Supervisor Cook. I want to say thank you for your service. You very much appreciate it. I don't know if you received my email last week. It was an invitation to the regular monthly memorial for Vietnam veterans that served. So we wanted to invite you, as well as something that came to my attention, that you were on a committee that our Vietnam veterans were opposed. Doing my research on Quan Tried Victory Foundation, you're on their committee, and I kind of felt that, well, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but if it wasn't, at least you know. And if you are on the committee, the guys would like to meet with you to get their feedback, the reason why they oppose of this foundation putting a monument that has nothing to do with Vietnam War or their veterans next to their national Vietnam veteran monument. So we would appreciate it. And I also printed out the link with your information. I have no idea what it says because it's all in Vietnamese, but I did recognize your picture. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you for your comments, Christy Burchett and Mike McCoy.
Whoever speaks the truth gives honest evidence, but a false witness utters deceit. Proverbs 12:17. The county public information officer answered the public records request I submitted in both January and March of 2021 that all labs are using cycle thresholds higher than the amount Dr. Fauci and other experts recommend, which is between 25 and 34. The amounts we've used in this county are between 38 to 45, which determine a positive test result. That may not sound like a big deal based on those numbers alone, but we're talking about a difference of billions and trillions of additional cycles when speaking about the PCR tests. Too many cycles means these tests are picking up dead nucleotides where a person is no longer infectious. Perkin-Elmer uses 42 cycles to determine a positive test, even with no symptoms. If that test had been sent to LabCorp, the test could show up negative at 38 cycles. The positive test result at 42 cycles would force a person and anybody they've been in contact with into an unlawful and unnecessary quarantine. Every strategy and recommendation is based off of these test results. They impact every other metric, including our beliefs on asymptomatic transmission, hospitalizations, and deaths. It has impacted our schools, our children, our families, our small businesses, all ways of life in our society. In June 2020, Governor Newsome declared he had the authority to withhold funding from any counties that didn't follow his recommendations and guidance and that of the California Department of Public Health. In January 2021, he refused to release the data after being pressured by small businesses. It doesn't matter if it's at the county or state level, emergency powers can be abused with this erratic mass PCR testing strategy that lacks the uniformity of a standard protocol and has no upfront reporting. At this point, we need a full audit on all PCR tests and cycle thresholds at the county level to truly make sense of the data, set a precedence, and to lead the way for full transparency at the state level. We need a standard protocol with upfront reporting of the cycle thresholds for any PCR test moving forward. A positive result should not automatically equal a case. A case should coincide with symptoms and with confirmatory lab results from tests such as antigen or antibody tests. If we don't make sense of this now, we will have ongoing abuse of emergency powers. This PCR testing problem needs to be addressed immediately. Board of Supervisors, I am asking you that during your board member comments at the end of this meeting that you address this request for a full audit of the PCR test and cycle thresholds. I will be reaching out to your offices for individual meetings to discuss this further. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mike McCoy, then Philip Figgis.
I'd like to start by saying I'd like to see you that we have 275 sheriffs across the United States who signed a letter opposing Biden and his open borders policy, and I'd like to see you, all of you people, to stand against the Biden administration with their unlawful open borders policy. And I'd also like to say I support our law enforcement, every single one of them, every agency that they have. And I'd like to come to the defense of ICE, if I might. In the Epic Times article, it says here that ICE deals with murderers, sexual assaults, that's rapists, domestic violence, hit and run, kidnapping, and identity theft, and we might as well add child molesters. ICE deals 85% of the people they come in contact with have criminal convictions or they have pending criminal charges. That's 85% of the people. The remaining 15% are fugitives from justice. These are the people that you refuse to deal with, that you refuse to cooperate with. I think it's a sin and a shame, and you people should be ashamed of yourselves, but I don't think you have any shame. I'm going to add one more thing. In 2019, ICE arrested, and these are convictions, charges and convictions, 1,900 convictions for homicide, 1,800 for kidnapping, 1,200 sexual offenses, 5,000 sexual assaults. That's 5,000 rapes, 45,000 assaults, 67,000 crimes involving drugs, 10,000 weapons charges, and my favorite, 47,000 DUIs. These are all committed by people who had no business being in our country in the first place. You know, it's too bad you don't have any shame. It's just too bad. I support our law enforcement, and I think you guys should do the same and get a backbone, for Christ's sake.
Next up is Philip Figgis, the No More Goodeness.
I'm up here to remind you again, there's this thing going on, it's called Recall, Newsome. This is written by a man named Kevin Kiley. We suggested you get a hold of him a few months ago. Don't know if you really did. killing our kids. One reason Newsom's COVID response was so unscientific is that science was getting in the way of other political priorities. In the last chapter, we saw how a pre-natural subservience to power special interest was the cause of his school closure policy. As much as an indictment as that is, even more damning is the effect. A tragedy for millions of California kids that mountains of scientific evidence warned against. California schools were ordered closed statewide on April 1st. It remains so through the summer. By the time the question of a reopening for the new school year presented itself, the evidence was clear on three counts: the minimal risk for children from COVID-19, the enormous harms of extended school closures, and the negligible impact of school openings on community transmission. The day of Newsom's July school closure order, I released a statement citing evidence that, quote, school closures do little to flatten the epidemic curve, while they are a calamity for kids, end of quote. That evidence only became more rock solid in the later half of 2020. Yet by the end of the year, Headmaster Newsome had still expelled the vast majority of students from the classroom. A deadly virus is not always less friendly for kids. One of the few things to be grateful for in 2020 was that this particular virus turned out to be not very dangerous for them at all. The Journal of the American Medical Association reported in May, that's a year ago, that the overall burden of COVID-19 infection in children remains relatively low, and that children are at far greater risk of critical illness from influenza than from COVID-19. By the time of Newsom's July 17th closure order, these limited risks from the virus were well understood. Equally well established were the wide-ranging and inequitably felt harms of keeping kids home from school. On June 29th, the American Academy of Pediatrics, quote, strongly advocated that all policy considerations for the coming school year should start with a goal of having students physically present in school, end of quote. In a 125-page report released on July 15th, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine concluded after weighing risks that school districts should prioritize reopening schools full time.
Thank you for your comments. Norma Goodenez, then Liz Mugley.
Hello. On April 16th, Emma Upton, a senior, organized a walkout protest at her Columbia Falls High School in Montana with over 100 maskless students and parents. They held up signs advocating for optional masks. Throughout the spring of 2020, Emma Upton, a junior in Flathead Valley, Montana, stated she was compliant since no one knew what COVID was. They didn't know how high the survival rate was, how high the recovery rate was, how useless a piece of cloth over her face was. She states she followed the sheep and listened to her politicians. She didn't leave the house for weeks, and when she did, she had a mask over her face and stayed away from any physical contact as directed. As summer went on, Emma said she felt stupid. She thought this was a political ploy, a need for power, a want to control. Emma began reading about the effectiveness of face coverings, Montana's curve regarding active COVID cases inclines, peaks, and then declines. She looked at South Dakota has a graph identical to Montana's. The difference: South Dakota has never mandated face coverings, thus debunking the narrative that the face masks are effective in COVID prevention. She found out that no study suggested that a thin layer of cloth over her face could fully protect her from ingesting coronavirus particles. No study stated that a face mask was going to save her from transmitting or receiving COVID. And no study said that the government had the authority to tell her how to treat her own health. Amendment 4 and 14th. So the school mandated face coverings, even after the governor had lifted the state mandate. Emma was not going to sit silent any longer. Her first step was finally taking charge and founding the first ever Turning Point USA chapter at Columbia Falls High School. She decided it was a perfect time to band together with like-minded students and promote what is true and constitutional. Even with a very liberal school administration, Emma was able to recruit a sponsor and get a TPUSA chapter passed and recognized by the school. Since the foundation of Turning Point, she has gotten immense support from the community and has become a very, very successful at promoting capitalism, freedom, the free market, patriotism, constitutionalism, and more. Turning Point officers and Emma have been so fortunate to be able to speak at community events and hosting meetings every Thursday for students to attend. She is not satisfied with the current situation of her school administration and board. Teachers constantly policing students to wear their masks rather than actually educating, inappropriate and unprofessional remarks made to students not wearing their masks correctly. And most of all, the school board's inaccurate reflection of the students whom they are supposed to be advocating for. The majority of the students and parents of Columbia Falls High School do not feel they are accurately being represented, as most do not see the logic or need to further require face coverings. Various schools around the state have made the executive decision to get rid of the
That's time.
So just a quick comment, Board of Supervisors. Let the mask be optional. I mean,
Thank you for your comments. Liz Mogilli, then Gary Grosich.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and Board of Supervisors. My name is Liz Penny-Muglia, and I am the Policy Director for the Center of Community. Oh boy, this is such a mouthful. I'm just going to say CCAJ. You all know where I'm from. As I mentioned last time, we have invited all of the supervisors to take tours of the Bloomington area where there is a proposed warehouse project. The purpose of this tour is to lift up the voices of constituents that will potentially be displaced and will see the footprint of their community changed forever. We really want to thank Vice Chair Rao and Supervisor Baca for your openness to conversation. Supervisor Baca, your time listening to constituents yesterday was much appreciated, and we know you have a deep connection with your community. Chair Hagerman and Supervisor Rutherford, we appreciate that you have made a commitment to also be open and engaged with conversation about this. And Supervisor Cook, we would absolutely love to hear back from you. On another note related to the comments today, I want to share a quick story. I had a young intern who recently called me and let me know that he had been accepted to USC Price, the master's program there. He was very, very excited. He came from a humble background and was the first person to graduate from college. A month later, he called to tell me that his mother passed away due to a COVID infection. She was suffering by herself in the hospital in the time leading up to her death, and he and his siblings weren't able to be by her side. Not only did he lose his mother, in the aftermath, he is left to care for those young siblings, and he is going to lose his home and will not be able to attend USC as planned. I know many who have lost loved ones and are picking up the pieces. I understand the inconvenience of the shutdowns and mask wearing. I have school-age children, and I work full-time, and it's been a difficult balance. However, I still have my family, and I am very lucky for that. So thank you to the Board of Supervisors for all you have done to keep this delicate balance between personal freedom and the safety of your communities in the face of a lot of criticism and uncertainty. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Gary Grosich. And Robin Hidvidson.
Good morning, board members. Gary Grosich, Bloomington MAC Vice Chair, Colton Planning Commissioner, and 43-year resident of Bloomington. I'm here today to express our community's extreme disappointment at the board's recent decision to allow a truck stop on Cedar Avenue in the middle of Bloomington. As you heard from Bloomington residents, the Shoddy Group originally showed our community and the MAC one site plan. They were asked to come back to the MAC with a revised site plan to limit the trucking aspects of the project. Instead, they chose to circumvent the agreed-upon process and proceeded with a completely different site plan, doubling the truck parking spots, adding above-ground fuel tanks and a truck scale, while eliminating a 5,000-square-foot restaurant and car wash. At the hearing, the board seemed to think you were able to get us a future sit-down restaurant. I can tell you that in 3 separate meetings, I was offered that same promise by Mr. Hernandez. I told him that a verbal commitment means nothing without a revised site plan. Unfortunately, the board and staff failed by not continuing the item and requiring the applicant to come back with that revised site plan. As a planning commissioner, I can tell you a continuance under those circumstances is standard procedure. If the Shawnee Group truly planned on building a future restaurant, they would have retained that on the original site plan, which showed a restaurant pad. Instead, they eliminated it, opting to replace it with increased truck parking, a truck scale, and above-ground fuel tanks. In reality, their verbal commitment to build a restaurant means nothing. They will simply say they couldn't find a tenant and will never build it because all the board got was an unenforceable promise in your haste to approve the project. At various stages of the process, the Shawnee Group also said they would provide 24/7 on-site security, eliminate the truck scale, and build a project with aesthetics that reflected the rural nature of our community, none of which happened. At the hearing, the board also ignored the concerns of the school district, which owns the 30 acres of residentially zoned property surrounding the project. The CEQA documents lack any consideration of the impacts this project will have on future development of the surrounding acreage. If the school district decides not to build a school there, over 200 much-needed homes can be built on that property. Either way, this project is not compatible and creates serious impacts to that property which were not factored in or properly mitigated. Why bring all this up after the fact? Because this is the first of many projects that will be coming forward on Cedar Avenue, some good and some not. Quite frankly, many in our community are concerned that Bloomington is virtually for sale to outside developers with personal or political connections. One project of particular concern is a truck terminal on 9 acres of prime commercial property. Last October, the MAC voted unanimously to oppose this project, yet it continues to move forward. This proposed truck terminal brings no revenue or jobs, only negative impacts, yet I've already been warned that this project will most likely pass because of the property owner's political ties. Please don't play politics with our community's future. The future of Bloomington hangs in the balance. Bloomington deserves to have quality mixed-use developments and not become a dumping ground for industrial projects on prime commercially zoned property. Instead, help us achieve our community's goals by following the input of those of us that live in Bloomington, not outsiders that have a political or financial agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Robin Hivinson. And then we'll go to the High Desert.
Yes. My name's Robin Vidston. I'm the Executive Director for We the People Rising. Our issue is secure borders and American First policies. I'm also here to talk about the letter that 275 sheriffs from 39 states submitted to Biden. There were 9 sheriffs in Nevada that signed the letter, 2 in California. But it's a very powerful letter. I have a copy of it. I'll be handing in to the supervisors. And with a support statement from 4 organizations, the organization I represent, We the People Rising, America First Latinos, Concerned Citizens of America, and the Remembrance Project. This is a very powerful letter. And again, 275 sheriffs are saying to Biden, 275 sheriffs out there and know the reality of crime, that he is endangering the public with his open border policy. The previous administration had done an excellent job in securing the border, and with the stroke of a pen, Biden literally has opened the border up. And we want the public to understand that cartels are being enriched and empowered by this administration. I heard on Univision, a Spanish television station, a cartel member who was interviewed in Spanish. He was completely garbed and his voice was distorted. But one thing that haunted me about his interview is that he said, for cartels right now, smuggling children is a gold mine. So I'm going to hand in a copy of this letter so that you can read it. We are here at the county level because this is 275 sheriffs across the nation that are taking a stand in the interest of public safety. We would like to see this body politic get involved and issue a letter. Please read it and consider following suit. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That's all the requests to speak we have in the chambers. We're going to move up to the High Desert. We have Marquez Kiernan.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. My name is Marcus Kernan. I'm going to be a proxy for Dr. Derek King, the Assistant Superintendent of Excelsior School District. I requested that my statement be read into the record by proxy because of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors policy of not reading written community comments into the public record for the benefit of attending public or any future public information record request. My name is Dr. Derek King, and I, along with several other San Bernardino County residents, have serious concerns with the fact that, with the exception of Supervisor Baca, all San Bernardino County district supervisors lack inclusion of African Americans as a part of their immediate staff. Exclusion creates the fertile ground for systemic racism issues. Excluding African Americans from having a voice on your staffs directly excludes African Americans from having the opportunity to influence the policies that impact our public services, immediate health concerns, quality of life, and overall direction by county government. To my knowledge, the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors are also excluding African Americans from the redistricting community. I am not suggesting that these exclusions are intentional. I am suggesting that these exclusions are the byproduct of not having African American concerns as critical part of your decisions. An effort to redraw the voting boundaries without including African American voices will likely prove to produce discriminatory outcomes. My immediate ask is simple. I would like every San Bernardino County District Supervisor to include a highly qualified African American as a part of their immediate staff and the redistricting community as well. I am confident that each of you are capable of solving these issues. Thank you for your time, and I am hopeful that you resolve these issues.
Thank you for your comments. We're going to move on to Joshua Tree. The first is Judith LaFoon, then Eric Sundstrom.
I'm going to tell them. Dear Board of Supervisors, I'm here to speak regarding Project 2020-00191, parcel 0629-18101, also known as Flamingo 640. It is my understanding that this application for a commercial resort campground type of facility. I have concerns about the project's potentially significant impacts to this area, which is considered a habitat connectivity corridor among various conserved areas. Additionally, traffic, groundwater quality, and disruption of the quiet enjoyment of an area designated rural living are all serious concerns. I believe the preparation of an environmental impact report is warranted in a case such as this, which is a substantial departure from what would be expected, given the existing land use designation, and which poses significant biological and other negative impacts. I believe the preparation, hypothetical situation. You live in an HOA community in a quiet suburb. Single family homes are on a quarter-acre lot. You have to abide by the rules and regulations of the HOA. Everyone in the HOA community enjoys the lifestyle and conformity to the rules. You don't have to deal with crazy house exterior colors. The landscaping is specified where and which vehicles you can park in your driveway or in the street in front of your house. And even dog poop must be picked up immediately. Multiple bordering homes go up on the market on your block. A wealthy person purchases these homes and intends to tear them down so that he can have a small farm. Chickens, goats, sheep, and don't forget the requisite rooster with the morning wake-up calls. This person also plans to keep his horses on the property, and he will be adding a small arena with stadium lights and a round pen for training purposes. He will have to park his 4-horse slant trailer on the property. He will invite his fellow horsemen over to work their horses in his arena and round pen. Lots of manure dust in the air. Maybe they rodeo and will practice calf roping and steer wrestling. There will be truckloads of hay bales delivered and stored there. Don't forget the smell of manure and the flies. Lots and lots of flies. But wait, this is against the HOA rules and regulations. This wealthy man challenges those rules and regulations so that he can change the zoning from single-family residence to rural living because he wants his little farm. There goes the quiet community. The Homestead Valley community does not want glamping in their rural living zoned community. We don't want glamping any more than an HOA community would like rural living lifestyles next door to them. I request for assurance on the record that this project being considered does not include plans for music festivals, a commercial bar and restaurant,
That's time.
or other amenities not generally considered part of a typical campground. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Sunstorm, then Patricia Dumay.
Greetings. I'd like to primarily focus on one aspect of the illegal commercial pot farm problem in the Mojave Basin. That is the matter of supply of water that is being given to these illegal growers. I can only comment on what I have learned about the Bighorn Desert View Water Agency. Currently, this water agency is installing water meters on empty parcels of land for the illegal commercial pot farms where there is no humanitarian need for service. The water agency rationalizes doing so by saying that they don't monitor how people develop their land. Many people install water meters on empty parcels for future development needs. But that is not true. The water company is identifying those parcels of land that are being used for pot farming and requiring that a backflow device be installed at the meter site. The obvious conclusion is that if the backflow device was not installed, the water company would not provide water service. This backflow device is installed because pot farms use pesticides and fertilizers that are dangerous to humans and can ruin the water system. So here we have the water agency is enabling this illegal activity to occur by requiring a backflow device. All this is occurring even though this is a misdemeanor under California state law, and Cal Cannabis, the regulatory state agency for legal pot farming, is not overseeing the safe operations of these pot farms. Essentially, the water agency has taken it upon itself to say, it's okay to operate in our area of service. But why not just say no at the very beginning? No, you cannot have water for your illegal operation. We are not going to undermine California state law. Why only say no if these illegal operations don't install a backflow device? Additionally, the water company is enabling these operations in areas zoned residential. Why? Why not just say no? I would like to know what, if any, legal precedent requires the water company to provide water services to these operations and to publicize it publicly on their website. I believe that San Bernardino County has a direct interest in establishing some kind of oversight over this issue. What happens if the water supply gets contaminated? What happens if people get sick from environmental toxins? What happens if someone sues the county because they cannot develop their property in a reasonable fashion because of an illegal commercial pot farm next to it? The water company is enabling these operations in areas zoned residential, and that's where I see these pot farms. I don't see them on the roadside in areas that are traditional to commercial zoning. To the board, I urge you to aggressively look into this issue and to be an advocate for our health and well-being and for the environment of San Bernardino County. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Patricia Dumay, the Molly Quinnos.
Hello, my name is Patricia Domey. I'm 80 years old. I've come to Landers about 20 years ago to have peace and quiet. And that's been interrupted by a pot farm that's about 100 feet from me. At night, during the day, if the wind is blowing south, my house, my patio, my bedroom, everything is filled with the smell of pot. And I just have really had it. My question is, the sheriffs test the marijuana. Are they testing for carbon furan, which a quarter teaspoon will kill a 600-pound bear? I have given to Ms. Rao, her assistant Christine, a piece of paper that talks about a woman that they just busted carrying these chemicals up from Mexico. They're horrible, horrible chemicals. I'm so worried about our aquifer underneath Landers. There are carbon furan comes in granules or a liquid. And it's terrible, terrible stuff. It's killing the microbes in the dirt that they're planting in. I have also given a couple pictures to Ms. Rowe about showing these guys in fifth wheel trailers with no toilets. And where are they pooping? You know, I don't know. But it's illegal to have a trailer there. It's illegal to supply water to them. She will see that they have 2 meters and a backflow supplied to them. I just have had it. I want peace and quiet in Northlanders. I want them to come and take these pot farms away. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Molly Quinones, and then Stephen Reyes.
Andy, good job.
Good job. Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity today to voice my concerns to you. I am a resident of the Joshua Tree Highlands neighborhood here in Joshua Tree, one of many neighborhoods that is very, very rural. And my concern and the concern of my neighbors is about how our neighborhood is changing so rapidly due to short-term rentals. We feel that the ordinance needs to be revisited, and it needs to be revisited very quickly. Our neighborhood is, the density of the short-term rentals in our neighborhood right now is 35%. There are more in the queue pending approval. And I can provide all my numbers and where I got them from, but we have 185 properties in our square mile section, and 65 of them are short-term rentals. My numbers include 28 residences that do show listings on Airbnb or VRBO, but are not permitted by the county. I just got this information from the county about permits, so we will be filing notices and complaints on those ones as soon as we can. Metrics for Joshua Tree as a whole reflects 10% density of short-term rentals. That's using 2010 census data. I have 33 neighbors that are bordered on 2 sides of their property by short-term rentals. That's 33 neighbors with 2 neighbors that have short-term rentals, and I have 2 neighbors who are completely surrounded on all 4 sides. All 4 sides of their property, short-term rentals. And I just can't imagine how I would feel or how any of you would feel if your 5-acre piece of, peace and quiet was now in that situation. One of these neighbors was told, it's only one night, what's the big deal? When she asked them to please keep the noise down. As soon as she left, they turned it back up and she had to call the sheriff. It's only one night for you as a guest. It's every night for us as residents. One of our issues is the potentially affected properties. The ordinance calls for 300 feet. That's not near enough in the desert. We need to have readily accessible lists of who the permitted hosts are and how to get a hold of them. We have been bringing our concerns to both Claire and Mark here in this office, and we appreciate their time and patience with us. And we'll continue to bring our concerns here to the full board at their urging. Again, thanks again for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Stephen Reyes and Rena Lucia.
Hi. I live in Landers, California, and I'm here to address the illegal marijuana farms in my community. I myself am an advocate for the legalization of marijuana. However, I voted against Prop 64 because it was written by Big Pharma and it would be devastating for the marijuana industry and would definitely lead to more black market marijuana, which is exactly what we've seen. Because San Bernardino has taken a no-tolerance policy in unincorporated areas regarding legal cultivation, and because under Prop 64, a grower is only receiving a slap on the wrist and a $500 fine, we have seen an explosion. Let me say that again. An explosion of illegal black market marijuana in our small community. I have an illegal marijuana farm 1 mile from my house with a watchtower manned by men with automatic weapons. One woman who spoke up at the last Homestead Valley community meeting last month said she no longer feels safe visiting her lander's property because the last time she went there, she was chased off her own land by men with guns who had put up a pot farm overnight. If San Bernardino County has taken the stance not to allow for permitted cultivation, but instead outlaw marijuana in the county, then it is the responsibility of the county to provide funding to our law enforcement that can enforce such a policy, no matter how enormous a budget that may require. When Prop 64 has proven to be an utter failure, then the county must be willing to write its own ordinances that create serious legal and financial consequences for cultivating marijuana without a permit. The county must be willing to create ordinances that take serious financial action against utility companies like Bighorn Water that knowingly provide water to illegal grows. The county must be willing to create ordinances that would penalize property owners that rent land to illegal grow operations, holding property owners both legally and financially responsible. Figuring out how San Bernardino can fix the major flaws of Prop 64 is crucial if we are going to see an end to this madness. You, as a board, cannot continue to tell your constituents there's nothing to be done because we voted in a bad bill. We do not accept that as your answer. You, as a board of supervisors for a county that is riddled with this problem, have a responsibility to do everything in your power to find the solution. I ask that you as a board unanimously take action to create the ordinances needed to fix this legislation. I ask each of you to envision your own mother living alone and vulnerable in my desert community. I want you to imagine your own mother fearing for her life because the illegal grow next to her is threatening her every day that she better sell them her land or rent them her land. We have many mothers out here living on their own, and they are fearful and they are completely helpless. You of the Board of Supervisors hold all the power to help us. This is a call to action to have you put this issue at the top of your priority. It's only getting more dangerous.
Thank you very much for your comments. Kim Bartwell?
Hello, I'm Renee Lucia.
Thank you, Renee.
And,
I kind of skipped you, so please, go ahead. Then we'll have Kim.
Oh, that's okay. I'm a longtime resident of this area, and I don't believe that it can handle a big glamping site like the Flamingo 640. The roads can't handle the traffic, and there is no sewer, so the wells nearby would be at risk. The noise pollution and the trash are also issues for something like that. It would be a great concern. The property is zoned rural living, and I believe that it should stay rural living. Overall, a dry desert with little water and the access and just a few access roads is not a good place for a large glamping site like that. And I really think that it should have an environmental impact report before something like that would be able to go through. And that's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Kim Bartwell. Then Cheryl Matthews.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Matthews. I live in Yucca Valley up on the Mesa. I have an Airbnb next door to me, and all during the pandemic, there were raves. There were all kinds of wedding receptions, everything going on there. Sleep is totally out of the question. The Airbnb is still going strong, but also has opened up less than 2 lots away from me is a hip camp. We have people coming in there and camping. I believe there's 5 different sites on less than 5 acres. And there's no water on the facility, yet they take and have bonfires. A couple of times they've taken off without putting them out. They were through, so they just went off and left them. The neighborhood is really frightened that we're going to get burned out. And now I learned that the Airbnb next door to me plans on putting in glamping on the back of their property, which will completely, I won't be able to see anything on that side of my property except an Airbnb and glamping. The trash is unbelievable. It's not just bottles of whiskey bottles and beer bottles. We also pick up personal hygiene stuff, pizza boxes, Starbucks. All this is out of my pasture. Anyway, we really need to do something about all the problems that we've come out of COVID-19 with. It's almost like I woke up to a Aaron Brockovich movie. Everything is just totally insane. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you will consider acting on some of these measures before we completely destroy this desert that we all love so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We still have Kim Bartwell and then Amy Tesser.
Hello, my name's Kim Boutwell, and I live on the Mesa. You just heard from my mother, Cheryl. To really just emphasize what's going on here, our horses have been sick because these people come in and they feed them this who knows what, and so the animals are sick. We don't get any sleep, honestly. And the trash is unbelievable. They have no trash receptacles anywhere on those campsites. And so the trash just goes everywhere. I've actually filled up our trash cans with their trash. It seems to me, after listening to everything today and the last meeting I attended, that this Board of Supervisors seems to be an after the fact kind of people. These are all situations that are going on already, and you're just now listening, but I'm watching them break ground all over. Why are they being allowed to break ground? Why are they being allowed to do all these things? And we're not even having it put on our calendar yet. I'm really confused why we're not addressing more vigorously these issues before these big companies come in and start breaking ground, before we allow these businesses, supposedly of pot growers, to start cultivating and bringing in all their toxins. Why isn't this being addressed beforehand or as it occurs? Because this has been going on for a year, 2 years. It's been going on a lot longer than we've been addressing it. And I'm sorry to have to say that, but that is really how I feel. And I hate to knock you guys, but I think you can do better. I really do. So anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Amy Tesler. And then Janelle Miller.
Good morning. My name is Steve Reyes. I am a full-time resident of Wonder Valley. I am sorry I was skipped over, so I'm jumping in front of Ms. Tess here. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Rao for being an incredible and supportive person in the desert when it comes to illegal marijuana grows. She's done an incredible job. I'd also like to thank Sheriff McMahon, Captain Isle, and Sergeant DeBevick, as the person that's going to come after me is going to do a much better job explaining the whole Morongo Basin, Wonder Valley, Desert Heights has seen an explosion of these illegal marijuana grows. It is truly a huge quality of life issue. I ask the rest of the Board of Supervisors to support Ms. Rao, Sheriff McMahon, when they ask for additional monies. There is a dire need for more code enforcement, a bigger footprint here. We just need more support from, as has already been discussed. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Now we'll go to Amy Tesler. And then Janelle Miller.
And so it kind of threw off the order, so now we're kind of scrambling to get some order.
Okay. It's hard to hear.
Go ahead and go after her.
Okay.
And I'll send them an email.
Can you just have me go after?
Yeah, I'll send you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am. And
Hello, my name is Janelle Miller, and I live in Flamingo Heights, and I came to talk about the Flamingo 640. I'm really concerned about a project this big right in our neighborhood. We have Dark Skies Initiative, we have Animal Corridor, I'm concerned about noise pollution, water usage, and traffic. That project would be right after a blind turn in the road. It really would be very unsafe. We who live there live in a quiet residential area. I don't understand why they would be allowed to even break ground there when there are plenty of commercial opportunities off Highway 62. So I think that those were all my concerns. And I also am concerned about the water, not only the safety of the marijuana problem, but also that they're taking all our water. We have a very limited water table here. Thank you for your time and for letting me speak.
thank you for your comments. I think I still missed Amy, but if not, Pat Horwath.
Okay. Hi, my name is Amy Tessier, and I'm a resident of 29 Palms. I spoke at this meeting back on March 9th about the illegal marijuana farms that are destroying our rural desert community. Since then, the Sheriff's Marijuana Enforcement Team and the local Morongo Basin Station have done actually a great job stepping up and eradicating many farms in the area. And I want to extend a sincere public thank you to Sergeant Debovic, Lieutenant Bracco, Captain Niles, and Sergeant Smoot and their teams for their work. It's hard work, and I understand that, and we appreciate it. However, I need to let you know that since that meeting, I have reported 44 more illegal marijuana farms. So the number is 96. That's how many I personally have reported, 96 illegal marijuana farms in 29 Palms. That includes Desert Heights and Wonder Valley. That number is absurd, 96 illegal marijuana farms. So what I'm asking is that we continue to fund the Sheriff's Department. They need that money. They need the manpower because we cannot allow this to keep happening. As you've heard from others, this is destroying our community. We need to step up. We need the supervisors to fund this problem. And I want to say that I'm here today, and actually I'm super excited. There's so many other people talking about marijuana today and the problems it's causing, but there's people that aren't here because they're scared. People are terrified. This issue is taking over our communities. There's elderly couples, there's widows, there's young mothers who have contacted me personally, because I'm pretty outspoken about this problem. They've contacted me personally that they're too scared to come and speak and have their face be on camera because they don't want to have retaliation from their neighbors who have guns, who have dogs. So I'm here to express their concerns. They have expressed to me that they're followed home by illegal weed farmers, that the generators blare all night and and it's loud and they can't sleep, that the lights from the grow lights light up the desert sky like we're next to a Walmart. I see tons of them around my house at night. And then people are actually afraid to be in their own homes, and that's not why we all moved here. No one is living here to be afraid. We live in a rural desert community, and we expect to feel safe in our community, and that's not happening. And so I'm here today to please implore you to keep giving money to the Sheriff's Department, keep helping Sergeant Debovic and Captain Niles do their jobs, and their deputies go out and do the job so that we can make the desert safe again. because we shouldn't have mothers and widows being afraid to be here today. That hurts my heart that women are not coming forward because they're afraid. So I'm asking you, please, all of the supervisors, to take this issue seriously and help us take back our desert community before it's absolutely destroyed by these terrible weed farmers who have no respect for our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Pat Hornworth, and then John Tally Jones.
Taylor, go ahead.
Hope everybody can hear me. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank all the supervisors, every last one of you, for allotting the budget to Supervisor Rao to increase enforcement of the marijuana farms in our community. Specifically to you, Supervisor Rowe, thank you. 2 months ago, we had a count of 65 illegal weed farms in the area, and you've allotted a lot of budget to get the marijuana enforcement team going, and they have done an amazing job. I want to thank you, and I also want to thank Sergeant Debevec of the marijuana enforcement team and the local marijuana enforcement team at the Morongo Basin Station, specifically Sergeant Smoot. So thank you, but I implore you to keep it up, because 2 months ago, the list was at 55. Now we're at 97. That's not theory. That's not conjecture. That is an official list of reported illegal grows in this community. By the end of the day, we're going to be over 100. And that's the truth. But here's what I want to get to, and this is more important. We still got to keep going, because as you can see here, last time at the meeting, nobody was here but me and my wife. Now we've got a room full of, 20 people. But there should be about 60 people behind me. You know why they're not here? They're afraid. I've been contacted personally by widows, by mothers, by wives who have their family and their husbands deployed, by senior citizens, by retired people, and by our elders who have contacted me privately to say, I want to be at this meeting. I want to speak to the supervisors, but I'm afraid because a pot farm is right across the street from me. And I don't want the repercussions that come with that. Now, I'm 6'2" and youngish. Imagine being a widow. Imagine being an elderly person or a senior citizen, and you have a pot farm right across the street from you. Would you be afraid? I think that's reasonable. I'm 6'2", and the nearest pot farm for me is a half a mile away, and I don't like it. These people are contacting me, and they're afraid. So I implore you to take the number of people that you hear today speaking about illegal marijuana in our community and quadruple it, because that's the true number. That's what's really going on out here. They're afraid for their own safety. And I think anybody can relate to the shady characters. It's not the plants. It's what's the sheriff deputies find when they bust these people. The illegal the illegal weapons, the warrants, and the other associated criminal activity. It's not the plant. It's the criminals that they're surrounded by. I've sent pictures to you, Supervisor Rowe. You can see a house here and a pot farm here. Widow here, pot farm here. They're like this. Would you want to be at this meeting, or would you be afraid? I know you'd be afraid. Anybody would be afraid. So please continue the enforcement efforts. The Sheriff's Department has been great, but they need more money, and they need it now. Unprecedented times. Thank you.
Thank you, John Tally Jones, then Gina Cohn.
Hi, I'm also talking about the pot farms. I'm concerned about the disruption to the environment in the 29 Palms area. The desert is being scraped, the dust is being kicked up, habitat is being destroyed. I'm also concerned about the water table out there and the overall degradation of the quality of the water as well. In addition, there's a degradation to the quality of life of the people who live out there. As has been mentioned by other people, the lights obscure the ability to stargaze. There's generator noise. There are vehicles tearing across parcels, including public land, overseen by the BLM, is concerned about violence. I don't think we want to see out here what happened in Tehachapi recently, a year or so ago. We've heard about the published estimates of the number of illegal marijuana grow farms that range between 70 and nearly 100 in just our zip code alone, 92277. So I urge the Board of Supervisors to prioritize action against the illegal farms. It's like playing whack-a-mole. One farm goes down, another farm comes up. I think more resources need to be given to this undertaking. Thank you for granting me the opportunity to address you on this issue.
Thank you for your comments. Gina Cohn and Cordella Reynolds.
Hi, my name is Gina Cohn. I live in 29 Palms and I have a cabin in Wonder Valley. I want to thank you and appreciate the continued efforts of law enforcement to eradicate the illegal marijuana grows. But we need more resources and funding to permanently discourage these crimes because this is a growing by the day epidemic and a public safety and environmental issue. You'd think this could never be allowed to happen between the largest military base in the world and one of the most beautiful national parks in our country, but it is, and many of us do not feel safe in our neighborhoods. These criminals have effortlessly and illegally laid claim, permitless, and in our face, excavating with heavy machinery some 10 feet deep into the delicate topsoil of the desert floor, digging irreparable dust bowl fields, releasing unhealthy fine particulates into the air we all must breathe. I have seen them grading new roads so delivery trucks can access them. Valley fever should be of great concern to all of us who live downwind of these farms. Semi-trucks, which used to be a rare sight on Amboy Road, are now a regular occurrence, degrading and barreling down the country roads, hauling and delivering mobile homes, trailers, soil, fuel, toxic fertilizers, building and grow materials. Rental trucks are frequently seen speeding down the dirt roads, most likely hauling their unregulated toxic-laced harvests grown here in our neighborhoods to be sold on the illegal black market. This brings excessive heavy traffic to our already hazardous roads and highways. It feels hopeless when excavators, well drillers, and water haulers willingly sabotage the very community they live in for hefty profits. We are on the verge of a mega drought and our limited water resource is being siphoned by these huge illegal industrialized sites operations with no consequences, and tax-paying citizens like us pay the price. Grow lights create light pollution in our dark sky ordinance area. Noise pollution and nasty fumes are stress-inducing because many grows have generators running 24/7. A neighbor told me his elderly dog now continuously wears an anxiety-reducing thunder coat because the generators at the grow next door cause him intense fear. Another friend, a single woman who used to enjoy being outside on most days, must now stay inside, keeping her doors and windows closed and locked, even during these glorious milder spring days, in order to keep the constant rumbling from the generator, as well as the toxic fumes from the pot farm next door, from disturbing her peace. A concerned woman also told me at a raided farm she discovered a desert tortoise wrapped in a discarded plastic wrap. If she hadn't released it, it surely would have died a terrible death. She also found abandoned domesticated animals that were left behind. These raided properties are blighted, dangerous toxic dumps left with large amounts of trash blowing into neighborhood yards and further into the desert, the wildlife corridors that link Joshua Tree National Park and the Mojave National Preserve and other important protected areas. This is wearing on many of us. These grows induce panic attacks, bring negativity, fear, intimidation, paranoia, and stress for many of us already overwhelmed by the present COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Cordella Reynolds and Aiden Coach.
I believe Cordelia Reynolds spoke just a
Okay,
while.
Aiden Coach and Peter Nichols.
Hi, my name is Aiden Koch, and thank you so much for your time and the work that you've already been putting into dealing with the illegal marijuana farms. And I'm coming from Landers, and hearing people come from Wonder Valley, 29 Palms, I think just shows how widespread this problem is, and also how difficult it is currently to manage it with our kind of limited forces. But in Landers, on my one block, there's a new farm 2 houses down from me. And on the walk that I take with my dog, there's about 7 or 8 that I pass by. And I've watched these grow all year long and put up the fences, dig out the holes, put up the hoop houses, watch it all get blown down. And just this process that seems to have limitless resources and access to land. And, you know, apart from concerns as someone who lives alone, and the only other person on my block is also a woman who lives alone, just the general, you know, degradation of my neighborhood and the environment. You know, I have friends who at times have worked for illegal farms, and they've told me about the, you know, the nasty products that get used, the rodenticides, the pesticides, the illegal fertilizers, and just the types of materials that are needed for these kinds of operations that often are, you know, limited were in legal ones. And these things, you know, they poison the ground, they poison plants, they poison animals that then get consumed by other animals. So it doesn't just affect the rats, it affects the coyotes, the hawks, neighborhood dogs, and, you know, everyone through the chain. And going into a drought year, I have a lot of concerns about the water that's being used for these. And in my neighborhood, it's the Bighorn View Desert Water Agency that is giving these people access to water. They're setting everyone up with lines, and it's coming out of what we all should have access to. And on top of that, recently they passed, their board passed a new kind of ruling so that the highest users will be paying more, which basically was targeting the illegal weed operations so that the only solution that they have is that the water agency makes more money. And this, you know, I have huge issues with this and the very obvious complicity that the water agency has with perpetuating these farms. So, you know, one of the things I think would be necessary is making the water agency accountable to what they're facilitating. And I'm almost out of time, so I'll leave it with that. And thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Peter Nichols, and then Luis Chickcoin.
Hi, I'm Peter Nichols. I'm just here to echo what everyone's been saying about the illegal weed farms. I'm also a homeowner in Landers, and from my house, like within a few blocks, there's at least 10 grow operations that have appeared that weren't there 6 months ago or 4 months ago, and definitely causes a lot of stress. And yes, I'm really concerned about the environmental degradation. You know, they'll bulldoze like a whole 5-acre lot, and being downwind of there, you'll get a lot of dust. Definitely a noticeable increase in the amount of dust on a windy day, which is most days. Then the increased traffic, like there's only one paved road in Landers. We all live on dirt roads, and the number of like big trucks and trailers and water tankers coming down, like there's definitely a noticeable degradation of the dirt roads that we already don't have the resources to maintain. Half of the roads, a lot of them are already impassable. So thanks a lot.
Good job. Thank you for your comments, Louise Chickcoin, then Lynn Greenwood.
I'm Louise Chickman, and I'm here also talking about the weed grow ops that have been springing up. I'm a resident of Landers. I also want to address the glamping situation, the glamping proposal that's going to be in Flamingo Heights. And mainly I just want to talk about how troubling this is to our community. Like you've heard, a lot of people are actually scared because of these weed grow-ops. The people that run them are sometimes really aggressive. They'll cut you off on a small dirt road where you don't usually see any other cars. They'll kind of like drive right in front of you sort of aggressively. They have animals pit bulls that get loose and living right down the road from one. They come over and they want to play with our dogs, but sometimes they're really aggressive. I've been bitten on the arm. They use illegal pesticides and they have rodent traps that release chemicals into our desert. I have a cat and the cat could possibly get sick from this, could die. These are actual issues, that we are all facing and that are really troubling. Now, the water company needs to be held accountable, as it's been stated that they've sort of set up a situation where they're just making tons of money off of this, which we pay them money and they're a fixture of our community, and it feels almost as though they're completely abandoning us when we really need them. They set up a water line for a grow-up that's right next to us and neglected to tell us that they would be digging a hole in our road that made it so it was impassable. The only way that I had to leave the house was impassable because they decided to set up a water line for an illegal grow farm. So it's really frustrating and it's disturbing our community, and we need more help than we're getting because the rate at which they're growing is faster than the rate at which they're being cracked down on. So under Prop 64, it's still a misdemeanor, and the 6 months of jail is an option. So I don't understand why these people are allowed to grow more than 6 plants. So I feel like we need more help, and that'd be great. Thanks for listening.
Lenny Greenwood and Michelle Jaffe.
Hi, my name is Lindy Greenwood. I'm here to address the proposed glamping site in Flamingo Heights. I live nearby with my husband and my dog. I'm concerned for many reasons about a development of this scale in a rural area, but I will list just a few here. Fire comes to mind first. Last year, we were terrified for our homes with just the fire issue in California in general, but this is a proposed site that would house 75 different sites, plus potentially a 25,000 person music venue, a helipad, a restaurant for non-locals, so locals can't even enjoy the thing that's being brought in. But we live in a very windy area, and fires are a real risk. And these people are not from here. They don't know how to handle fires properly. So there's that. There's also the water table. We live in a limited resource area. I get my water from a well to survive. This is where I live. And I know there are a lot of people out here who do the same, and there's only so much of it. And these people will come in, have a wonderful helicopter traveled glamping night, and then just leave, and they've taken all of our water. There are endangered species that live in the area. There's, just the Joshua trees that will have to be displaced. So there's a whole bunch of issues with wildlife. What else? I feel like development of this scale, I'm not opposed to development. I think we need more development, but this is happening in an area designated for rural living. This is why we live here, to live in a rural area. There's plenty of commercial use areas where I think this would be better suited for. So I think that's all I have to say about that for now. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you, Lenny. Michelle Jaffe and then Jeff Jesser.
Hello, my name is Michelle Jaffe, and I live in Pipes Canyon Wash, or right on the edge of it. Lindy, who just spoke, is my neighbor, and I want to start off by thanking Supervisor Rao for being attentive and compassionate and responsive to concerns that I've raised also on this topic, the glamping proposed development. In August, I had a neighbor who moved in above me and started holding parties. And so I know firsthand how both sound and trash and construction debris move from above down into the wash, propelled by our unruly and unpredictable winds, and how the topography of this area, which includes Butte and other hillsides, really create almost a perfect amphitheater for the amplification of all noise, and pretty good with, like I said, creating exciting windstorms that move dirt around. So I was incredibly worried when I looked at the proposal, not just because of the scale and the fire, and because we're already seeing our well take longer to recharge as the water table goes down and the dry year continues, but also because I read really attentively the noise report that the developer issued, and it has many, many flaws in it, to the extent where it almost seems to have been done in bad faith. It included only one day on the site of taking measurements, and that day was in the middle of July during the pandemic, so there was almost no traffic noise, and it was not a windy day at all, which is not indicative of our environment. They also did the rest of it as a computer model in which they didn't include any sensors actually in the wash. So they did not account at all for the way that sound moves through the area, which impacts not just the residents, but also the animals. And that alone made me really concerned about their intentions, in addition to the way that the proposal, which includes a 25,000 person amphitheater, possibly, and a helipad, which neither of which are great on sound, seems to completely disregard the natural, the way that both people and nature function in the area. So I would request that they be made to do a much more thorough study of the environmental impact, as well as the traffic impact coming off of Highway 247, where I feel like I may die every day that I turn into my driveway. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much. I wanted to say that listening to all of these other issues, another piece that comes to mind, there's such a big problem right now with the illegal cannabis farms that thanks.
Thank you for your comments. I believe we have Pat Horwath still needs to speak.
My name is Pat Horvath, and I'm from Copper Mountain Mesa, and I'm a resident who has lived there 7 years, and now I live next to two enormous pot farms and one smaller farm, just one parcel away from my property. Now, for anyone who might zone out before the end, I want to give you my final point, and that is Prop 64 is a total failure. It has failed the Northern California, Southern California, everywhere in between. In March 2021, I visited a friend at Borland Pass and saw 10 thriving pot farms in one area. Her neighbors have reported these for the past year, and only recently have a few raids been conducted, off Winters and Daisy Lane. I attended the Homestead Valley Community Council meeting on April 19th. I listened to residents of the surrounding areas share their complaints on this issue. I listened to the county share there's not enough resources to stop these criminals. Deputy Miles said it's like playing whack-a-mole. Hit one, two more are going to pop up, and that's true because on my way to that meeting, I could see trucks going down Winters Road with those big hoops of, farms that had recently been raided. So I met with Louis Sahagan, a senior environmental investigative reporter from the LA Times. He has visited other areas, spoken to biologists and environmental lawyers, and came to the conclusion that this is an environmental horror story for California, not just the Morongo Basin. Why is this happening, he kept asking, and why is it exploding now in the desert Southwest? I had sent them the Dragon One video of Desert Heights. When Lewis visited, few were willing to talk to him due to fear. We had 2 people set up, and at the last minute, they refused and didn't want to talk to him. We visited 2 raided farms, and he exclaimed, "It's like a war zone." He came to the conclusion that Prop 64 is to blame. The Mojave Desert Land Trust said they would ask their board of directors raise this issue as top priority. What is needed is emergency legislative change, as Lewis noted. My contact at the MLDT forwarded me the High Desert article by Stacy Moore. I sent this to Lewis, and he called me telling me Jim Harvey, the president of the Homestead Valley Council, is the only one on the right track to end this environmental nightmare, and that is requesting that Prop 64 be amended to change the penalty from a misdemeanor to a felony. Prop 64 is total failure in trying to control the black market, and in fact, it is allowing illegal grow farms to thrive. Since our county resources cannot stop these criminals, I am asking if you, the Board of Supervisors, are willing to write a letter similar to Jim Harvey's, requesting assistance in changing this crime to a felony. Once the land is scraped, that's it for decades. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I believe that's all the requests to speak from Joshua Tree. We do have one more to add here in chambers. Stella May.
Is there a timing thing that, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak after the fact. I drove 2.5 hours to get here, and I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Stella May, and I'm the Executive Director of Concerned Citizens of America. And I do have a short statement that I'd like to read regarding a recent letter that was sent to Washington, D.C., and published on numerous news outlets and social media. Specifically, a letter was sent to Joe Biden on April 7th of this year by 278 sheriffs from 39 states across America who strongly requested an immediate reversal on Biden's pro-illegal immigration policy. The actual heading on the letter is as follows: "Help America's sheriffs keep our neighborhoods and communities safe by halting illegal immigration." In the 2 pages of this letter, these 275 sheriffs laid out rationale that is consistent with keeping their oaths of office, as well as protecting the public safety and welfare of everyone. But this new administration is encouraging and sanctioning lawlessness and the victimization of the people of the United States, all in the name of mass illegal immigration. What is most troubling is that prior administrations passed legislation approving of and paying for border wall construction and other security measures. A quote from this letter is as follows: "The crisis at the border is penetrating our neighborhoods throughout the interior of the United States." That would be applicable to San Bernardino County as well. It goes on to elaborate just what kind of problems are visibly reported as crime is now suddenly soaring since Biden has basically declared open borders, and we are now being illegally invaded by thousands and thousands of non-citizens through the aid of paid cartels, and including within the thousands of border crossers, in addition to unaccompanied little children being abandoned and or dropped over fences. These are dangerous MS-13 gang members and known terrorists that are on the Interpol and or FBI's watch list. In this packet that was submitted prior by Robin Viston of We the People Rising on behalf of 4 organizations, including Concerned Citizens, is a copy of the April 7th letter, as well as 5 pages of signatures from the 275 sheriffs from 39 states across America. We stand before you today to ask you to make a formal declaration, a formal statement, if you will, to join America's sheriffs in embracing common sense public safety policies of prior administrations to enforce our laws and to ensure a path for your constituents for more safety, more prosperity, and less crime. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I believe that's all the requests to speak that we have today. We can move back to the discussion calendar. We're going to, item number 64 has already been dispensed with. We're going to item number 65, acting as the governing board for county service areas and their zones. So I'd like to open the public hearing. And Brendan Biggs, Mr. Biggs, you get to present to us today.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hangman, members of the board. Brendan Biggs, Director of Public Works. The item before you today is the introduction of proposed replacement ordinance for the recommended fees for board-governed county service areas and zones. The recommendation today is to conduct a public hearing on the proposed ordinance, which repeals ordinance number SD 20-6, replacing it with a new ordinance establishing various service fees for the 21-22 fiscal year. This annual recommendation includes fee revisions, the deletion of certain fees, and the addition of new fees for a variety of services, including refuse, road maintenance, parks and recreation, and street lighting. The most significant change this year as a recommendation is the revision of two productive hourly rates, which includes adjustments for employee MOU, salary step changes, retirement rates, and other employee benefit costs. Also included are annual inflationary adjustments to a number of road, street light, and detention basin districts, and the addition of two districts formed within the last year, Zone R49 in Fawnskin for road maintenance and snow plowing, and Zone SL11 in Bloomington for street light services. The department will bring an item forward at the next hearing on May 18th to adopt today's recommended ordinance and repeal ordinance number SD 20-6. The adopted ordinance and establishment of the 21-22 fees will be effective July 1st, 2021. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll bring back to the board. Any questions of Mr. Biggs? Seeing none. Any requests to speak on this item?
No, sir.
We'll close the public hearing, bring it back, and entertain a motion.
We'll move.
Got a motion by Supervisor Baca,
Second.
separate by Supervisor Rutherford. We're going to have a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Supervisor Cook?
Cook, aye.
Supervisor Rutherford? Supervisor Rao?
Yes.
Supervisor Hagman?
Hagman, aye.
Supervisor Baca?
Baca, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biggs. Motion passes. That's all the discussion items we have today. We're going to start with board comments.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I need to read the
Oh, we need to read the
ordinance.
ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. An ordinance of the County of San Bernardino, State of California, acting as the governing body of all board-governed county service areas and their zones to repeal ordinance number SD 20-02 and adopt fees and charges for fiscal year 2021-22. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll start with comments. Supervisor Baca.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Hagman. Just a couple things. This past weekend, one of our unincorporated areas of Bloomington, we celebrated an opening ceremonies. It was nice to see people out, families out, kids out. We actually had former Dodgers Bill Russell and Reggie Smith out, and it was an exciting time. But I just think, the bigger thing, more than the opening ceremonies, I think it's a good sign to see people out, kids exercising, communities being active again. I just think it's the beginning of things beginning to open up. So just a great event, and my staff did a great job, really facilitated and supporting Bloomington Little League, and hats off to Bloomington Little League for their efforts. The last thing, just, I'm coming up in my 6 months, nearly my first 6 months in office, and I just, one of the things I've been able to do while in office is really get a lot of community input, get discussions, get concerns from people in the community, and they've shared some of those concerns, that being homelessness and infrastructure. And, what we did is we submitted a paper that a staff helped put together based on surveys, based on pictures, based on things that we saw in the community, and submitted it to the CAO. And, capital is very, very important that needed in our community. And I look forward to potentially getting some capital done and supporting, my colleagues and whatever projects they wish to support in their communities. I'm full support of. So I just wanted to share that with the community, and thank you for the opportunity, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rutherford. Colonel Cook.
Yeah, I don't have, this is very, very disturbing. Obviously, I got the same problems, and were described by many of the folks there. It's a big problem, and the police, we put them in an awkward position. I mean, it's cops and robbers out there, and the robbers are winning. And I'm concerned about people running for office, quite frankly. If you're running for office and you have somebody that wants to legalize marijuana or support Airbnbs for nefarious purposes, I'm not saying, I don't know how you can say they're not allowed to give, but you should at least, somebody who accepts that money, disclose where that money came from. Now all the realtors in the world are probably going to be upset at me for that comment I made, but this is something, a lot of people like Airbnbs, a lot of people don't like them, but when they're tied into some of these people there, I think we at least got to look at that. And from a county standpoint, I don't know, this might be a Sacramento problem but we could suggest through our lobbyists, and that's the second part I want to mention. I want to get much more aggressive in the use of our lobbyists with the fact that there is going to be money available because of earmarks and things like that. Now, a lot of people don't like earmarks, and I'm sorry if I can get more money for my district or what have you, I'm going to support it. If we've got something we haven't been able to do for years because we haven't had the money, I'm going to support earmarks. And they can organize the recall against me right now. But these are controversial items. But I think sooner or later we have to have a pretty good discussion on that. And maybe I don't know the procedure on this because I'm new, and whether our lobbyists can tell us what's going on in the world of Sacramento and the world of Washington, and whether we should be aggressive in some of the policies that we want in terms of legislation. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's been a long meeting, and we've had a lot of people speak, but I'm really, really concerned about Dawn's district and mine too. It's the desert out there, and it's bad. And the police, you send them in this. Yeah, people with automatic weapons and this and that, and it's back to the meth wars that we had, where we thought we put a stop to that. But I heard the people loud and clear. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Vice Chair Don Rao.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank all of our constituents for coming out today, especially those in the 3rd District. We recognize that we have a tremendous quality of life issue happening. Prop 64 was the legalization in 2016 of cannabis in the state of California, and it was a voter-led initiative. And so for anybody listening today, although the Board of Supervisors can't comment and take action on it, we can address it briefly. And in order to undo Prop 64, it has to be a vote of the people by another voter initiative. So there is not a simple legislative fix. It decriminalized cannabis and it made it a misdemeanor to grow. And that is really what is facing our desert communities. So we are trying with multiple departments, and the Sheriff's Department's done a great job. You hear me every meeting thank them, and I continue to do that. And we will work to try to get back our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to echo, we all have our districts, but together as a team, as the County Board of Supervisors and the large county family of employees and our partner agencies, will look at every opportunity we can to work together for not only our individual districts, but the quality for San Bernardino County moving forward. We are a unique county, the largest geographical county in the United States. We have a lot of different areas that need different issues, but collectively we have the best team around to face them, and we will tackle them together. And with that, we're going to adjourn the meeting. The May 4th is over. May the 4th be, what is it? May the 4th be with you, I guess it is. Yes, and I wore my Star Wars tie to memorialize it, but otherwise we will adjourn to the next meeting. Thank you.